This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trends in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Happy New Year, everybody. I know it sounds like I'm a little late wishing you that, but we've been on a little hiatus because our show fell on every holiday from Christmas Eve onward to today. So here we are wishing you the happiest of New Year's. And I've got some things put together for you for those never-ending resolutions that come around every year. So let's get started. I just want to touch on a couple things that are going on in the United States now, because I do speak about freedom and all of the wonderful things that we are fortunate to have living and being citizens of the United States of America. So right now, what has the television occupied and all of the sites on the internet that publish news and all is the horrible things going on in Minneapolis. And this hasn't just started in Minneapolis with ICE. This is going on through the entire country. And what people don't understand, and it's mostly the people who have immigrated here that don't want ICE around. A few of us think they should not be taking families. They should be more able to find out the backgrounds of these people before they go rushing into people's homes or whatever they do. I haven't seen an attack by ICE. I only see what's on the news. And they are perfectly within their right to arrest people who are in the country illegally. This goes back to the Biden administration. Again, I hate to say it. I don't mean to pick on the old man. He has some good attributes, but he was not governing. He was too old. He was not cognizant of what was going on. And I'm not sure he even knew that there were airplanes full of illegals being flown from their point of crossing the border to different places in the Northeast and all. I don't think he knew anything that was going on. So I blame him a lot for this. But right now, what has happened goes back 5 years to the Rodney King and George Floyd incidents. Rodney King was a long time ago in Los Angeles, and that started the Los Angeles riots, which I lived through. And then the Floyd problem came up where he was apparently strangled, broke his neck or something. I can't remember the exact injury, but he did die. So this went on about that. And in Minneapolis, they practically burned down the city over it. Now, George Floyd was a criminal. He had been convicted and in jail before. So we have to look at the whole picture of these things. I'm not condoning any of them. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have been done. Nobody deserves to die. This is what I'm concerned about. Now, this woman who was killed would not stop and listen to the police. If you are doing something and you're doing something illegally, that these people, even though most of them apparently are citizens of the United States and they're protesting ICE, I don't think they even know what they're protesting when they gather. Their signs are too perfect. They are dressed too nicely. They have planned speeches or little talks or sound bites, if you will. If you are asked to disperse for number one, not having a permit to gather in a protest, and number two, if you are not obeying what the police officers are asking you to do, such as quit shouting horrible insults and using foul language and spitting in people's faces, you should be listening to the police. And if you don't, then you are liable to be arrested. And this woman was told many times to stand down, if you will. And she continued to shout and scream and try to drive her car. And you can see in any video what happened. And a police officer who has asked somebody to get out of the car, to put her hands up, and isn't doing that, and the car starts moving, has every right to protect himself and to protect his fellow officers. And unfortunately, that's what happened, and it came to being her shot and killed. I really take exception to these people in office that are saying that the officer should be put in jail, he should be convicted of murder. They don't have all of the facts, and they have no right of saying that. These people are just adding to the problems in the United States of the people that have elected communist, not socialist communist, in New York to become mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, if you don't straighten up and start standing up for our Constitution and our laws, we're going to lose our country. And I am not kidding you. I'm not making this up. You start watching the news and see what's happening. And don't just listen to Fox. I listen to Fox, I admit it, but I listen to Newsmax, CNN, some of the other sites. Plus, I look it up on the internet and see if I can find something on somebody's post that they've got more information that I don't know about. And that's what I want you to do. This has got to end, and it's got to end now. Look what has happened. Charlie Kirk, President Trump, who was not even president then, shot. It just missed his head by a fraction of an inch, a fraction of an inch. This is not the way to protect our freedoms and your freedom. So wake up, see what's going on, look at all the different sources of news, read, and don't listen to the crazies who are trying to destroy our country. Look what good has come out. Okay, let's get off of that. That's my opinion, and I hope it's your opinion also. So here we are. I had a pleasant Christmas because we went to visit my daughter and son-in-law. My husband and I went to do that with seeing our grandboys, our grandkids. Lou's never had children. Lou's my husband, as you probably all know. He's never had children, so he hasn't been around children, and he takes great delight in being around these boys. And these boys are quick to entertain, let's say that. One is 11 and one is 7. And I do have 2 other grandchildren, a young man who just turned 20 and a young lady who just turned 18. And I have a picture of my husband, Lou, here in our little living room, of Lou holding Connor the first time he had ever held a baby. It's such a precious picture. I just look at it and love it all the time. So we had a great time. We did all sorts of things, went through the Mariner Museum up in Santa Barbara, and just all sorts of things. All sorts of things also included ferocious downpours and flooding. And it started right after we got there. We always stay in a hotel close by. because, well, for a long time, Andy, her husband's mother from Argentina, was here, but she recently went home. So maybe we'll stop staying in hotels, but we're always close by, and we're so close, we like to walk to their condo. But we couldn't do that this time, and everything was overflowing. It was treacherous, and there was sometimes we had to delay going back to the hotel because the water was 6 inches deep. And my car, I don't want to be in 6-inch deep water. It's crazy. And you have to remember, when you're in that deep of water, your brakes are getting wet and everything else is getting wet. So it was quite an interesting time. Besides baking cookies, we watched the flood news. So that was fun. Decorating the tree, putting jigsaw puzzles together. I tried to get them to teach me how to play chess, but they didn't. My daughter and her husband challenged my husband and me to play Cranium. I got to tell you, that is the worst game I've ever played in my life. I didn't know any of the answers. It's like going back and playing, I don't know, Truth or Dare or something, the things they tell you have to do. I was laughing and I was thinking, God, I'm so stupid. Why can't I remember this? So I don't recommend Cranium, but if you're really a genius, go ahead and play it. Okay, what I want you to do now is pick up a pen and a piece of paper, because as we step into a new year, many of us feel a familiar pull to change our lives. True change means gratitude, freedom, and living our best life. Most resolutions fail, not because we are weak, but because they begin with pressure instead of purpose. Think about that. You decide to diet, and then you have the pressure. You can't go to the refrigerator. You can't have an extra glass of wine. You can't have a bite of your mashed potatoes. Pressure, pressure, pressure. We need purpose instead. Why do you want to decide to go on a diet this year? And how are you going to do it? That's the purpose. The purpose is you want to be healthier. You want to be able to keep up running with those grandkids. You want to live a long life. You can't live a long life and be healthy unless you take care of yourself. To me, gratitude is a powerful place to begin. It grounds us and it helps us see what truly matters. As we age, isolation becomes one of the greatest challenges. Small acts of kindness make a real difference. You know, I've been walking around our condo complex here. We were in the desert, if you remember, and we moved down here 2 years ago, and I like to walk. But where I've normally been walking has been shady and out in nature and very green. Now we're in this desert, and I can't leave my husband for too long because he's not feeling well. So I go out early in the morning. Right now we have really pleasant weather and it's beautiful. You can see the mountains and the snow capped on some of them because we've been having flood rains down here quite a bit also. And when I say that, I mean some of the roads are closed because it's so flooded and so deep. So I walk around, and Palm Springs area is a place where people come to retire, and they come from places like Canada to get out of the harsh winters, and they come down here and it's quite pleasant. But in our complex, we have several retired people, and I would say they're concentrating on longevity because they're isolating. They don't have many visitors, if any at all, but they do get out and they walk once in a while. But it's usually kind of with their head down, and they don't know anybody, and they may have been living here for 9 years and they don't know anybody. So here I am out there walking, and me, believe me, I'm not always happy, but me, I just think it's nice to say hello to your neighbors. Having lived in the East Coast of the United States, in New Jersey and Boston and New Hampshire and all these different places, Massachusetts, as I said, Boston. We've lived in high rises a lot because they were temporary 1 to 3 year positions as Lou turned companies around, companies that were failing, and he brought them back to plus figures, prosperity and all. And then we would move on to the next big trouble spot. So we're in these high rises, and I'd get into the elevator to go down to walk through the parks in Boston, and everybody would be like this. And I'd go, oh, good morning. Good morning. Oh, morning. People have forgotten what it is to be a good neighbor. And that's very important. When you live in a nice house in a neighborhood, when we were growing up, we knew all the neighborhood kids and all the parents and the grandparents because we were out on the streets, we were in the parks, we were allowed to go ride our bike down the street, down the sidewalk, what have you, meet the kids, we'd all get together. We knew people. We checked on them if we didn't see them for a little bit, especially the grandparents and all. All of that has disappeared. So I want you to think about not being so isolated. And it's a big challenge, but those little acts of kindness, when you see somebody taking their daily walk and you're out there taking your daily walk, hi, how you doing today? Isn't the sky beautiful? And believe me, here in the desert, in the Coachella Valley, we are surrounded by mountains. And when it rains so hard and the temperature drops to the 30s, these mountains are snow-capped. And then the sun comes out and the sky is so blue, it almost looks like a painting with these mountains. And it's just beautiful. It is peaceful and lovely. So remember those little acts of kindness because you will cheer up somebody and make their day brighter than it has been. Now, I started out talking about the problems we're having in the country right now in Minneapolis and other places. And I just don't know what is wrong with people. The mayor of Minneapolis and the governor, Tim Walz, who was on the ticket for the vice presidential election with Kamala Harris as her vice president's nominee, is the governor still of Minnesota. And he basically stood up and said, I want ICE out of my state, our state, get them out of here. He's basically saying, step down, President Trump. He has no right to be doing any of this. And yes, he has the authority as governor to call in the National Guard, but he hasn't done it. He thinks it's okay for people to go harass the ICE agents. Well, you remember how he ran his campaign. Hi there, singing, woohoo, let's dance. I don't know how he ever got on to the Democrat ticket, but I digress there. What's going on in Minneapolis and Minnesota is tragic, and Tim Walz is close to sedition and being a traitor. I just think it's a horrible situation. So why I'm telling you this again is because we have many freedoms, and one is to express our opinions. But the crowds that are attacking the ICE agents, most of them are paid. If you look at the signs are professional signs coming out of a printer's shop with brilliant colors on them, looking good, great slogans. They're not from the people. that are protesting. They're from somebody who's paid for these demonstrations and these riots. Who's doing that? I want to know. I want them to get to the bottom of this, because most of these people, when they're asked by a news person, a press person, a journalist, they're asked, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Oh, no like ice. No like ice. Well, why don't you like ice? Because. Just because. This person likes. No, they don't like. They don't like ice. They hate ice. Well, can you give me a reason? No. They can't give you a reason. Because many of them are illegals in these crowds, and many of them are citizens of the United States, and they just like to hate. And these people, most of them, not in all protests or places where we have freedom of speech and we want to express our opinions, many of the people who come to these rallies like this and become violent have been paid. You know, my husband asked me yesterday, why do these people do this? Why don't they have something better to do, a job to go to or something like that? I said, no, this is their job. And it is their job. Sometimes they bus them in. Sometimes they walk them in. They gather someplace outside of wherever the protest is going to be, and they all get together and they march and they walk. But before that, they've been handed their signs. They didn't do like people did during the Vietnam War. And they got together and they said, let's make some signs in the basement. Let's do this. Let's do that. These people were against the Vietnam War because we didn't want our boys. They were all boys back then. No women except nurses. We want to protect them. We don't want them fighting for a war that isn't our war. I don't want to get into the Vietnam War. My brother served, he came home, and I'm eternally grateful for that. Many of my friends also served, and a couple didn't come home. So there are reasons to protest, and I will defend to my death your right to freedom of speech. Who said that? But maybe we should have a contest and you should email me and tell me what you think. And I don't know what I'll give you, but I'll give you a shout out. Okay. All right. So I think that the freedoms that we have, and many are listed in the Constitution, they require responsibility. And if you think one of your teenagers are going to these things and not even know what they're talking about, I think you need to pull them into the corner with you and have a little sit-down conversation and explain it. Health and longevity are built gently through small, consistent choices, not perfection. Well, how are we going to do this? We need to do a number of things in order to keep our health and have a pleasant. I've taken notes today. Now I just have to find them. Here we go. Let's see what we're talking about now. Well, we talked about gratitude, and I want to get to my health notes. Okay, here we go. What we want to do, instead of saying diet, let's say something like I'm aiming for a healthier lifestyle and longevity. And longevity can mean many things. Now, we're not talking today about terrible diseases that like cancer and Lou Gehrig's disease and things like that. We're talking about a person who may be in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, and what you can do to maintain your health so that you can enjoy those extra years. Because what good is it to live to be 100 and not be able to get up out of your chair or talk to your great, great, great grandchildren, or see the television, or read a book, or hear the conversation? There are so many things that can enhance your life for longevity and being healthy that you need to take stock of what you have and what you don't have, and let's start working on them. You need to think about nourishment in your diets instead of the quick fix. I am so opposed to these injections that have been passed out by all the pharmaceutical companies. Yes, they were manufactured and studied for diabetes. If you're diabetic, this is what they would give you. And one of the side effects, of the drug was losing weight. Well, somebody at one of the big major pharmaceutical companies said, hey, we have a new diet thing. We can make sure people lose 45 pounds. All they have to do is inject themselves and spend thousands and thousands of dollars, because unless you're a diabetic, I don't believe those drugs are covered by insurance. What else do you think these drugs are doing to people? I'm talking about these new weight loss drugs. Have you noticed some of the celebrities that have started using them have now gone off them and they're gaining back their weight? Or some lost so much weight they just kept going, oh, I like this, I like this, I like to be skinny. Their faces are falling. Look, I'm not skinny. I have wrinkles. I'm 78. I'm not going to take one of those freaking injections and spend $1,000 each time I'm doing it to lose 10 pounds. You have to be nuts to be doing this. I don't want my face to fall off my face. I don't want my bones to show through my skin. So I gained a little bit of weight. Yeah, I'd like to lose 10 pounds, but I'm not going to do it that way. I might give up my bowl of ice cream every night. That might be a wiser choice. So you need to do that to be healthy. I am thinking that, and there's a lot of information that I go deeper into in different shows. I'm not a big fan of going to doctors unless you're ill. I think there are some things that you need to check all the time up to certain ages. I think women should not have to have a mammogram every single year after the age of 45, 50. I just stopped having them. I took my last one 6 months ago, and I said, what the heck am I doing having mammograms? I have had no problems, no symptoms, nothing. All I have are big boobs, and it hurts to have a mammogram, and I'm not doing it anymore. I don't have any kind of cancer in my body. Thank God, thank the Lord. And so I don't see any reason to have it. I told the doctor not to take an x-ray of my lymph glands, and he basically told me if I didn't go have this procedure, the MRI or the CAT scan or whatever the heck it was, he wouldn't see me as a patient anymore. Now, we just moved here 2 years ago, and the new insurance we had, which sucks, it's Aetna, and they stopped using it for Medicare. All over the entire valley, we're in Riverside County, and we're in the Coachella Valley. So now I find myself looking for more Medicare insurance. Our health system is really screwed up. And I want you to remember that when people are telling you all these things. If you're on Facebook or one of the other social media sites, you're going to see more and more people talking about cancer treatments. And some of them are a little hokey, and some of them make a lot of sense to me. And some seem as if they're not doing any good and they're actually doing harm to the patients. Now, these are people that are sharing their own experience with these drugs. Years ago, when I had friends that would have breast cancer or something, I did believe in chemotherapy and all because it was new and it seemed to be helping them, but it didn't when they had a double mastectomy and it spread to other places. But that didn't mean anything to me at that time. It meant that the person was unfortunate and maybe God decided to call them sooner than expected. I don't know. But there are people who say the force of your mind, your attitude, and the different things you're doing, changing your diet, drinking more fluids, walking, there's all sorts of things that they're talking about, and they have gone back and their health is improved and they can't find the signs of the cancer. So what do we think? Do you think the first tests were wrong and they were just feeling poorly and this is what they decided to tell them? I don't know. But right now, I think you should be very careful who you hire on as your medical advisor, your doctor. Now, believe me, I believe in doctors. I believe in doctors all the way. But I want you to be careful and ask about what you're doing. Because now, after this doctor, who was supposed to be my primary care doctor, sent me to this to have the test, I have a paralyzed right vocal cord. My thyroid is swollen now. I didn't need that test. I told them I didn't need the test, that I just had a serious cold type thing. And I always get my adrenal glands slightly swollen when I have something like that. Well, okay. It's just absolutely crazy what's going on out there. I don't want you to take any goofy things or treatments for any ailment that you have. I want you to seek the help of qualified healthcare people. Qualified meaning, did they study? Did they do something? They didn't just go sit in the woods and contemplate. I want you to speak and listen to people who have backgrounds in alternative medicine, something such as that, not just wackos. So let's be careful about that. And let's enjoy our longevity as we change our nutrition and what we're putting into our bodies. Take a look at the food pyramid, which used to be like that and now is like that. You know, those rare steaks that you used to love to eat, and then all of a sudden they told you not to? They're back. They're back. And you can eat them now. So look at the new food pyramid. That's going to help you. If nothing else, it's going to get you happy because you can have a steak and 1 glass of red wine. Sounds good to me. All right, so let's make gratitude a daily resolution. Let's be appreciative of what we have. Now, some of you may have gone to an assisted living home or I don't know what they call them, a different choice to have people have your little villa and have the people there in case you have an emergency and they bring you your own meals there, anything you want, or you can go into the lovely dining rooms and dine there, and you can even have a cocktail. You meet new people and they have workout rooms and swimming pools and all sorts of gorgeous things. So there's different ways to retire. Me, I've taken 2 years down here in the desert, and believe me, we chose it for 2 different reasons. One, because we sold our property and we wanted to downsize. And so for the last couple of years before we moved down here, we were checking out different areas and the cost of living and the cost of entertainment. And was it close to the beach or hiking or what have you? Did it have a good airport that we could fly out of so we could travel a little bit? And was it close to my children, my adult children? And one was in Calabasas and one was in Santa Barbara. So we wanted to be on the West Coast. We'd already done all of the entertaining and our own entertainment going around. And when Lou was going and turning these different companies around, it was a wonderful experience because I didn't have any kids at home. So I could move with him and I could enjoy Boston. I could enjoy Chicago, Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. I have lots of friends in Pittsburgh from a couple of times because I also did a lot of business in Pittsburgh before I married Lou. So I've kept all those friends and it was great fun. So you need to look at all those different things and see what you're going to do. Do you want to be isolated or don't you want to be? I have 12 girlfriends here in the desert that I knew a couple of them were down here. And unfortunately, I just lost one. But I knew some of them were down here. I was pleasant surprised when I found out others were down here. But I had lost my son, and some of you know that. I lost my son to suicide, and it's one of the most horrible, heartbreaking things can ever happen. So I needed to isolate, and I can't say I was totally isolated because I have my dear husband with me. And for 2 years, I didn't do much, except I did try to do this after a while. I went back to podcasting because I even quit podcasting, and I couldn't do anything. It's horrible to lose a child, but when you think your child is so unhappy and so disturbed over something that he hasn't shared with everybody, it's really tragic and really difficult. So I isolated. I prayed a lot. I slept a lot in the very beginning. I couldn't get out of bed. I'll tell you why I finally did get out of bed and how it helped me. But there's different reasons for isolation. I would not suggest it to anybody to be isolated all the time. If you live in assisted living, go out and do these crazy dances everybody does with each other. There's a wonderful site on Facebook called the Retirement Home or the Retirement House, I guess. And they have different men and women living in it, all of the retirement age, and they were not married. They all had lost their spouses, and they all have their own separate rooms and all of that. And they get together and do the grocery shopping or go on a trip to downtown to see a movie or something. They are a riot, and they're having the best time, dare I say, of their lives. Really, really good. They're all very cute. So kind of look that up on Facebook if you are on Facebook. I think you'll enjoy it. The Retirement House. And they do reels and stories, and that's how I found them when I'm scrolling around for information for podcasting. So now we are talking about caring for others as we age and living styles. And whoops, that's my beginning. Freedom is the responsibility of our time. And it's the time when words like socialism and communism are spoken casually, sometimes without understanding the cost. Not only the cost, but they don't even know what that means. I bet they have never read a book about socialism, the rise of the Nazis, communism, when the people took over in China, and what that entitles and how your property is taken from you. Well, the worst case scenario is the Nazis killing millions and millions of people, not just the Jewish people, but people who were mentally unstable, physically challenged, people who were teachers, priests. It was a horrible time. You cannot speak to that unless you study it, unless you read a history book on it. Don't just read something like Exodus, which is, to me, one of great Leon Uris's books. I like reading it because it makes you understand more of how they founded Israel in 1947. But I don't think you know anything about communism. Once in a while, I talk about it, how you are given an apartment to live in, but you can't own it and you can't sell it. And if you want to live someplace else, it's very doubtful you can, unless the Communist Party, says you can. If you want your child to grow up and be a ballerina, you have to tell that to the party, and the party has to approve her when she's a little girl and take the classes, and always answer to somebody who's overseeing your program. And there's a price to pay. Your parents have to do the work that the Communist Party tells you to do, and the child has to go to the school that is chosen for them. This is not a great society. So get this out of your head, young people. Tell your young people, your grandchildren that are in their teens, in their 20s, tell them what socialism and communism is. Don't let them get picked apart by stupid sayings of Mondami in New York and AOC. What the heck does AOC know about any of these things? But I'll tell you, she's backing Mondami and all these other people, and she wants to run for president. We can't afford this. We can't afford this. You will not like living that way. And longevity, goodbye. Read some of the books that some of the Russian authors that have escaped communism in Russia or the USSR and come over here. Read some of their books, and they'll tell you how it's like on a gulag. You won't like it. So we need to be sure that we take care of our country and that we're grateful for it. And that means you should become involved a little bit in politics to see who you should vote for in the upcoming midterms and then the election in 2028. So we're in a very precarious position right now. Just think about Trump, who has ended 8 wars. Don't tell me what he's doing is wrong, because it's not. We want to end this influx of drugs that are killing our children. It's not good. I know people whose kids have succumbed to this problem. Please don't go out and hammer the ICE people. We're trying to clean up the country from what Biden did by tearing down the fence and letting everybody in. Okay, that's the end. That's the end, my friend. Okay, so try asking people if they need a little encouragement, but do it. Do you need encouragement? No. Do it gently and say, hey, I know you want to go back to work. Well, what do you really like to do? Do you like to read? What about getting a job as like a docent in a library, or join a book club in a library? And maybe you'll meet more people, and one of them might have something to do that you like to do with reading. That's just one example. What I want to tell you about is what I have gotten interested in, and it has to do with longevity, and I've spoken to you about it before, and that is LifeWave. A dear friend who was on my show one time with some other guys, they were singing Christmas songs and all of that. They've also written a book that we've done. reviews of. You can go back and listen to old episodes and see them. Her name is Georgie Donovan, and she's a precious friend. Oh, I feel so badly for her. I think she just lost her cat who'd been with her for so many years. They're like our children, and I just feel badly for her. So I need to get a hold of her today. But she introduced me to LifeWave. And let me tell you, I was very skeptical because they are small patches like this. And I wear them every day. I wear X39, which is their premier patch that promotes wellness and well-being. Now, these patches are not like the ones you see on television with medication in them or being this big to put on your arm or your back or put it on your face. No, they're the size basically of a quarter. And they have a little piece of gauzy type fabric in the middle with kind of like crystallized something. And what they are is phototherapy. Phototherapy. Phototherapy is where you bring the light from your ambient surroundings into your body. Our bodies are filled with light. And what they do is the light from your body stimulates your stem cells. Your stem cells work to keep all your other cells healthy. And when one of your other cells is attacked, like maybe your heart or your circulation, or with me, I was very stressed out when I first moved down here because of my son. And so I was depressed and I could barely get out of bed. And so Georgie sent me these patches. She told me about these patches. So I got onto the X39 and I wear that every single day. And I always feel wonderful. You can wear it in different positions. Sometimes, most of the time I wear it down here. I don't have that on today. I'm just going to flip around so you can see this. I don't know if you can because I'm all dressed. I'm all dressed up today. Can you see that one? Can you see that patch? I guess you can't. Okay, so that's what I wear. The Aeon I wore on my wrist. It just calms you down and takes away your racing thoughts and gives you a little spark of energy so you can continue with your day. These things are non-transdermal. There is no medication, no drugs, nothing in them. So nothing but the light goes into your body. They are the most miraculous new product for health and well-being on the market today. And this company, LifeWave, has such integrity, they continue to win awards every year for their integrity, for their compensation plan, and of course, all of the different patents they've received. David Schmidt is the founder and CEO. And he's the one who has developed all these. And he has 200 patents. 200 patents. Believe me, when I had my skincare line, La Contessa, I had to get patents. It's not an easy thing to do. You have to fill out all these papers. You have to pay a lot of money just to process it. And you go on. And then well, they like them in France. I better get patents there. It is an extremely taxing project to get patents, and he's passed all of them. 200 patents. These things are, for me, are almost like miracle workers, and anybody who tries them and uses them will tell you that. So what I'd like you to do, oh, by the way, there is a business end of it, but there is also a premier customer part of it that you can join at lifewave.com/Judith Mancini. And everything will be explained to you and tell you what it is. And of course, there's a small cost always involved in this because you have to get set up. You want to get some of these patches to give out to people so they can try them. And that's what Georgie did for me. And I'm eternally grateful to her for it. I have to tell you, I've told you the story about my husband having a bad shoulder from playing golf, and I patched him up, and it had bothered him for years, but he never would go to a doctor. He's not crazy about doctors either, but he just wouldn't go, and he wouldn't do anything. He does go to chiropractors once in a while, or he did. He doesn't do anything now. I patched him up, and I don't know how many minutes because I wasn't tracking the time, but it was like I patched him up in the afternoon, and by the time it was time to go to bed, I said, "Hey, what happened with your patch?" He said, "Well, it's right here." And I said, "Well, what happened to your shoulder?" And he said, "Oh, it doesn't hurt." And I laughed. I couldn't help but laughing. Okay, so that cured his shoulder. It took it away. It got those stem cells to be pointing to the cells around his shoulder that were straining the muscles and all. Another thing that might happen with my husband, I talk about myself a lot, but these are two miracle things that happened to my husband. I have to hurry here because I'm almost out of time. He has a circulation problem, and he has one of the number one cardiologists here in the Coachella Valley, which I'm very grateful for. And they put him on a blood thinner, and that has been remarkable. But they also told him, you have to move your legs. You have to move your feet. You need to keep your circulation going yourself. Well, he doesn't. He sits around most of the time. He has a walker now, so he will take his little walks back and forth, but not enough. So I said, Louis, I just saw a testimonial from this man who had sort of the same problem, and he put his feet up in a photograph, and they looked like yours. Very dark, and not the regular complexion of you. And that's how Lou found out he had bad circulation. His toes turned black. Well, that's damn scary. So we got that solved with the blood thinner, but I'd like him to take lower doses because I don't want him to hurt himself and bleed out, something like that. So I said, let me put this patch on you. I think it would help you. I put the X39 on it. This is the one for well-being and general well-being. And it just goes right to those stem cells immediately, and it starts working. I put it on in the afternoon, and there again, before we went to bed, his feet were the same color as my complexion. It's amazing. I took it off. They didn't change color all night long, but I was sure to put it back on. And he's never had this problem of his feet turning totally blue. He does not wear compression socks. He just does this. And I know when we go back to the cardiologist just for a checkup, because I do believe in things like that, I want to make sure he has no blockages or anything. I'm going to tell the cardiologist about these, and he'll be blown away. So now I'm blown away because you were such a great audience today listening to me. I want you to go out, be healthy, wealthy, and wise. And remember, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today. Thank you.